All right, welcome. Week 10, almost in the books. We are here on the First and Pod podcast. My voice is pretty much back, and it needs to be. After what we just watched, an entire day of football. We had an early game that really wasn't great, but for some reason I watched all 3 hours of it, plus the overtime. We'll get to that eventually. Pat Peterson with me, Spencer Ray producing. Make sure you listen and subscribe to First and Pod on the Odyssey app, wherever you get podcasts. We do this after every game Sunday night. When the game ends, we get right into the entire slate of games, and we react initially to the game that just ended, Sunday Night Football, where the Lions stormed all the way back. They scored 19 unanswered points to win 26-23. And Pat, one of your teams is now off the hook because the last time before this game that a team got 5 interceptions and lost was one of your teams. Did you know that? 2012, Matt Ryan threw 5 interceptions against the Cardinals. That would have been your second year. And you guys had Ryan Lindley and John Skelton play. And somehow you lost a game where Matt Ryan gifted you guys 5 picks. And that was the last time until tonight that a team got 5 interceptions and lost. So you're no longer the answer to a trivia question, my friend. You didn't throw the 5 interceptions, but I bet you took some away from Matt Ryan. Maybe Spence could look that up. You probably did.
No, I did not. Man, that's one quarterback I have yet to pick off. Well, not yet. I have not picked off in my career was Matt Ryan.
Huh. Well, your teammates got 5 in that game, and the Texans got 5 of Jared Goff and still managed to lose. So I just have to I'm going to start by giving Dan Campbell props here, because he said at halftime, we need to start getting turnovers if we're going to come back and win this game. We need takeaways. And literally seconds later, they got one to start the second half. Jared Goff threw more interceptions in this game than he had all of this year and all of last year. And I think it's the power of what he has instilled in this group, where those types of things kept happening and they didn't quit. And people might think that's like a hokey or trite thing. It's the NFL. Teams shouldn't quit. But when you're giving the ball away like that, you should lose 99% of the time. And it's a testament to the culture that he is instilled there, that those guys kept battling in this game, and they buckled down defensively in the second half, and they allowed for their offense to get back in the game. They started running the ball finally. Amon-Ra St. Brown got involved, and their kicker made 2 clutch kicks that barely squeaked in. And I mean, for years, this was a laughingstock franchise that everybody expected to beat. Now they're 8-1, and they're pulling games out of their ass like this one, Pat, on the road against the first-place team.
Yeah, this was a solid win, and just showed what Dan Campbell has built over the years. You know, I was watching the game, and all you saw was Campbell soup, kneecap, for the kneecap, chewing off kneecap was a recipe or something like that. But this is a team that is built on grit. They believe what they have built is going to get them to the promised land. And it showed in the second half, like you said. The defense played much better. They leaned on their offensive line, got Montgomery back in the game as far as taking some pressure off of Jared Goff, although throwing 5 interceptions and still finding a way to win this ball game. It's just unbelievable testament to what Dan Campbell has built there in Detroit. And to your point again, this was a laughingstock of the NFL. Couldn't finish games. Hell, they was the first team to go 0-16. I could remember playing them, although they had Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson. We just knew that was not an easy win, but it was going to be one of those games to where you can almost chalk it up as a win. But now Dan Campbell has completely turned their organization around. They're one of the best teams in NFL, and especially the last 2 seasons. And it just seemed like this team and Dan Campbell got the motion moving in the right direction thus far.
The only thing that we're going to have to see about this game for them is this just going to be a one-off for Goff, or is it going to snowball into another week? Because I thought the early interceptions were due to pressure. I wanted to early in the game give Houston credit for what they were doing defensively.
Yeah.
that flustered Goff. But as the game went on, Pat, especially those second half interceptions, he was just serving the ball up. The third
Yeah.
quarter looked like it was Will Levis against Zach Wilson. I
Right.
couldn't believe it. And it was
Mhm.
Jared Goff against CJ Stroud. And last year, these guys were the most careful and smart and trustworthy with the football of
Mhm.
any quarterbacks in the NFL. That's what made this game for 3 quarters so absurd. But we'll see if it's just to his credit, the confidence came back in the fourth quarter. And he
Right.
didn't turn the ball over, and he got the ball to the right people. And he almost got Jameson Williams killed on one play where he caught the ball and got smashed high and low, almost got cut in half, like
Yeah.
a magic act where the guy sawing through the lady. But I mean, it was it's their offensive line did not give up a sack, but Goff was under duress early, and they ended up pulling it out, Pat. And it's really
Yeah.
similar, and we'll get to it. It's similar to what Kansas City did today. The two best teams in the NFL, record wise, found ways to win games that they otherwise should lose, and most teams would have lost today if
Yeah.
they were in Detroit's shoes having 5 interceptions like that.
Yeah, this just goes back to training camp days when Coach, Andy Reid and Dan Campbell are putting these guys in scenarios, going through 2-minute drills against your defense. You have probably 25 something days in training camp. You're probably going through those type of scenarios 15 times, and like you said, it just comes back to what team executes the best. And with the Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs, it just seems like they don't miss a beat and they look the sharpest in those moments because time in and time out, they're finding ways to win when when the arrow is not even pointing in their direction to win the ball game. And that just goes back to a well-coached football team and a football team that's disciplined and also very detail oriented to be able to execute in those situations in order for them to win the ball game.
And Pat, how about Houston? I mean, we've come on here and said they have a gaudy record, but
Hmm.
just week in and week out, they're not really passing the eye test.
Yeah.
Now, the built-in excuse for this game was Collins didn't come back at wide receiver, so
Hmm.
you were down. Collins and Diggs is out for the year, and Will Anderson didn't play on defense, last year's defensive rookie of the year. But you're up 16 at the break, and you don't score a point in the second
Yeah.
half. I'm sorry. I'm a big CJ Stroud fan, and we gave him all kinds of excuses last week when they were basically shut out by the Jets and he was sacked 8 or 9 times.
Hmm.
Like, no wonder this guy's numbers aren't good.
Yeah.
Dude, you've got to find a way to score points. You're one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You've got to find a way to not just set your kicker up to try to kick a 55-yard field goal. You got to be able to put together one drive over the last 30 minutes of the game. I think it speaks to how far Houston is from being a legitimate contender. They're not sneaking. This is not fun and games this year, Pat. They're not sneaking
Yeah.
up on anybody with a rookie quarterback. There were actual expectations for them. They made all those moves because his salary cap figure, Stroud, is so small. They're supposed to be in the same category as Detroit and Kansas City, and they just gave this game away.
Yeah. Yeah. Houston gave this game away. They had every opportunity in the world to win this ball game in the first half. CJ Stroud coming out on fire, delivering the ball all over the field. Joe Mixon had the running game going, and just in the second half, they just came out completely flat and couldn't
I
find
mean, the
themselves.
Dell interception in the end zone, like, why is he
Yeah.
holding on to the ball for so long? He's
Yeah.
open.
Yeah.
Let it go. Throw it.
Yeah. It just it seemed like my guy CJ Stroud is not seeing the field as he once did last year. And that could come with as many times as he's been hit, as many times as he's been sacked. So the timing in his head may be a little bit different this season, but he definitely doesn't look like the same CJ Stroud of last year. And it could be him not having Collins, Diggs in the lineup. But now this is the moment that a lot of people not been waiting for, but want to see if you can really carry a team and have the weight on your shoulders each and every game, regardless what Joe Mixon is doing. You're still going to have to make those
Joe Mixon
timely
freaking
throws.
out.
Yeah, he
They're
is.
winning the game, and he's
Yeah.
throwing his helmet at iPads. Apparently this week, I don't know if you heard this story, they were getting ready for this game, and they were starting their offensive team meeting, and he said, I've got something to say. And he stood up, and he ripped the entire offense and took the offensive coordinator to task.
I did not hear that.
Which, bro, I get it. You're a veteran player. And you want to do that early in the week. That's your prerogative as a guy that's seen a lot of football. But I never like when a team is winning, when a guy comes to the sideline and he throws a temper tantrum. I just don't think that vibe is good when you're up 2 scores in a game.
Yeah, that's never a good look.
All right, let's get to the Sunday game, starting with the debacle in Dallas with the Eagles and Cowboys. What a laugher this was that most of America watched, including me. What do you find more interesting here, Pat? The Eagles' resurgence, they've won 5 in a row, or the Cowboys' complete and utter collapse?
The Eagles resurgent. I mean, Dallas is what we saw week 3, and they haven't gotten better yet. So, and also this was honestly, technically, the expectations that we had for the Dallas Cowboys coming into the season, because they've made no real off-season acquisitions, no free agent pickups throughout the before the deadline. The offense is atrocious. Your defense is atrocious. Can't stop the run. You don't have a number 2 receiver. It's the same old stuff over and over again. Now that you don't have Dak in the lineup, it just looks that much more worse. Because Cooper Rush, 13 to 23, 45
You're doing
yards.
what I did.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a stat I've never seen in my life. He completed 23 passes for 45 yards. How is that
No. He completed 13 passes for 45
13.
yards. Yeah,
How is that possible?
It's very possible, and Cooper Rush.
That's 3 yards. That's a little more than 3 yards of completion.
Their longest play in that game, I believe, was 8 yards. So that's how it happened.
And Jerry saying after the game he's not making an in-season coaching change. That's not going to fix things.
Yeah,
and then
said
he
that as
talking
well.
about the sun in the stadium. Did you see
that? No, I did not see. Oh, yeah, I did see that, talking about the sun. But I also saw that he said that he thought the offense looked better with Cooper Rush in it than Dak all season long. I was like, what in the world Jerry is watching?
Well, they put Trey Lance in the game. That's how desperate they got today, and it didn't get any better. The dude threw 5 interceptions in a preseason game back in August, and I watched the game, and they were no cheapies. He actually was just throwing the ball to the other team. They weren't fluke plays. I think that what Philly has done, while we've gotten mad at them, like last week against Jacksonville, and we know their fans there have somebody mentioned this to me. I thought it was a brilliant point. The people who are the most convinced that the Eagles won't win the Super Bowl are not rival fans like the Commanders fans or Giants fans or Cowboys fans. It's Eagles fans. Eagles fans hate the Eagles more than anybody else. They're so self-loathing. It's incredible. Jalen Hurts, who had this ankle injury that Nick Sirianni tried to hide at the end of the week, at the end of the practice week, he has very quietly put together an incredible stretch where he has a rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown, and a passer rating over 100 in the last 4 games. He's played mistake-free football. He's back to being the dual threat guy. You've said it so intelligently. That's what A.J. Brown is brought back to the offense. He's bringing the best out of Hurts. The offensive line is back locked in, minus Kelsey. He's doing the broadcasting stuff now. But it's mostly been against cupcakes. And so Thursday night, it's going to change. The next time you and me talk, it's going to be after that Eagles-Commanders game.
Yep.
So congratulations. You pretty much got through this stretch, blowing 3 teams out, almost letting Jacksonville back in it, but you went 4-0. Now you've got a real game. And the last thing I'll say about the Dallas thing is the Jerry Jones thing is just sad, Pat. I mean, he is so attention hungry and craves the spotlight so badly that he just says these ridiculous things. And that just makes it so hard to be a player or coach for that organization.
Yeah.
Because he puts undue pressure on you by the comments he makes. And I'm sorry, I do think that affects the way they play, and I think that seeps into everything they do, when the owner publicly calls his players out and coaches out, I don't think that's a situation that's conducive for winning.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But the game was a debacle. It's not even worth talking about anymore. Let's move on to the 49ers and the Bucks. 49ers win on a last second field goal. What did this game tell us about the 49ers?
I think they're back, and they needed a last second field goal. They I think we're one for 3 in the red zone, so they need to tighten up what they do when they're down near the goal line. But they had offensive production. When you look at the game and you go through the box score, it's
Mhm.
over 400 yards of offense. Purdy threw for 350, threw for over 300. McCaffrey, they weren't able to run the ball, but he caught 60 yards of 60 yards of receptions. Kittle had a great touchdown pass on an amazing throw by Purdy. Pearsall had his first receiving touchdown. Good for him after he got shot this
Mhm.
offseason. That's a cool part of this. He's now integrated into their offense. The only guy who was pissed was Deebo Samuel because Moody kept missing field goals and he went and tried to kick the long snapper's ass on the sideline. That was incredible. He said that your kicker misses 3 field goals, you get pissed off, and then the guy came back and made the game winner. So
Right, right.
the final score was closer than the game actually was.
Mhm.
San Francisco's offense, it looked like you could see with everybody back, with McCaffrey in for the first time, you could see the makings of a great offense once they shake the rust off. And that's how they're
Yeah.
going to compete in the NFC West. They got to get it going to catch your Arizona Cardinals, who we'll get to. And then if they're going to get one of the other wild card spots with Washington, Green Bay, and Minnesota right there.
Yeah, this was a much needed win for the 49ers. And like you said, it with Christian McCaffrey in the lineup, this offense looks totally different. Like I said as well when we was early on in the season when we was talking about do Kyle Shanahan needs a Christian McCaffrey in order for his offense to go. I said no, but at the same time, Christian gives you a whole new dynamic because of what he can do in the backfield. Like you said as well, 68 yards out of the backfield. Really didn't have a big game in the rushing in the rushing category. But what other running back this season had 68 yards? Will be
He
able
went for
was
over 100 total yards in his
That's what I'm
first game, to
saying.
your
So
point.
he was able to he was being used in the pass, utilizing the pass game totally different from all the other running backs on the roster. So he definitely unlocked some doors for this San Francisco offense. The defense looked much better. And we're gonna have to wait and see if this is gonna be one of those late second half of the season surge by the 49ers that we've been accustomed to seeing over the last 2 to 3 seasons.
I'm going to just say this, though. Don't give up on Tampa. They should have beaten Kansas City. They lost
Yeah.
this game in a last-second field goal. They beat Detroit. They're 4-6. They got hot and won 5 in a row to make the playoffs last year. And Atlanta lost to New Orleans today. So they're
Yeah.
really 3 out because they got swept. But if they can get Mike Evans back, and they will, I wouldn't be surprised if this team started winning some games over the next couple of months and made it interesting.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a team who won't make it interesting, the New York friggin' Giants. They are 2-8. They
Mm.
lose to Carolina. It's Bryce Young's first winning streak since he was at Alabama, Pat.
Wow. Congratulations to Bryce, man. Shout out to Bryce and getting
Yeah.
2 dubs back to back.
He's been through a lot.
Yeah, he
So
has.
the Giants are now in position to get the number 1 pick. Is this actually a blessing in disguise for them, Pat?
It may be because hell, um, it don't look like Daniel Jones is the answer. We kind of talked about that as well early on in the season.
He had
And
his moments for 2 or 3 games there. He
yeah,
looked like he
he
was
did.
proving the doubters wrong, and now he's right
Yeah,
back to being the Daniel Jones of old.
no doubt about it. They should be embarrassing themselves going up there to Germany, supposedly having the biggest fan base over there in Munich, and you go over there and lose to the Carolina Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. That was just pathetic on the New York Giants and or not even going out there executing. And this one I knew the Giants was going to lose. I can't remember what moment it was in the game, but they ran a flea flicker on like 3rd and 1, I believe.
Yeah. You know, the worst part about that, though, is
What?
that if Daniel Jones actually, like, looked downfield and wasn't scared that he was going to get sacked, he had two guys wide open
Yeah,
for easy touchdowns. But he's
he
just,
did.
thinking I'm about to get killed on
Hmm.
every play, and he's in his own head. That happened multiple times today,
It
man.
did.
Like, he's got no confidence in himself,
Nah.
and it shows.
Yeah, it shows. So this can definitely be a blessing in disguise for the New York Giants. There probably is, in my opinion, probably going to be between what Cam Ward and Sanders,
Yeah.
in my opinion. So we'll see what
Do you think
happens.
Prime would be fine with him going there?
Yeah,
I think
New
so
York
too.
City,
No
New
doubt.
York City.
Love the bright lights of that situation.
Man, no doubt about it. And they might be looking for. I don't know if they'll hire him, but they might be looking for a new head coach too.
Well, remember he got that great vote of confidence a couple of weeks ago
Yeah.
from the owner. If you
Mhm.
take that
But
for
you
what it's worth.
remember what you said as well. That kind of you said when they was doing that. Who was the coach at the time? Was it Coughlin?
Yeah.
And you remember you kept saying that they was saying, "Oh yeah, he's good," but they was really losing. So there was speculation that it was probably going to fire him. But what
They
did
were just
Coughlin
trying to
do?
light a fire under his ass, is what
And
they were doing there.
he won 2 Super Bowls. I don't see no Super Bowls coming
Me neither.
out of yeah.
And Brian
So
Dable, if you're going to dye your beard, brother, you got to get it all the way so we don't see like the gray line on the top of it. You're in New York City, man. You got to find someone that can do a better job dyeing that thing for you. Come on now.
sorry,
Steelers Commanders, Russell Wilson touchdown pass to Mike Williams wins it. Do Steelers feel like a team of destiny?
no doubt about it.
Let's go.
No doubt about it, man. Just the way everything is all starting to come together. I know it was a skin by their teeth win this week against this Washington Commander team, but just to see how the team was able to fight and continue to keep pushing the envelope to keep themselves in the game, to give themselves an opportunity to win that game late down there in Washington. So defense is always going to be outstanding. Offense just seems to get better and better with the running game. Russell delivering those moon balls continuously since he's been in the lineup. That I believe that's something has really unlocked this offense. Now that you have a quarterback that's not afraid to push the ball down the field, I think it really softens up the defense with already a very very physical running game. So this team is set up definitely for destiny. It's just all going to come down to. I know Alex just had an injury today. Don't know
Highsmith.
what the yeah.
Yeah.
Alex had an injury today. I don't know the severity of that, but it looked like some type of ankle injury. But he's and Herbert is not back yet, so it's just going to come down to health wise, in my opinion, to this team, and I think they can do it. I really do.
Well, I bet on it. So I got my heart and my wallet now involved in this for them. Two things happened in this game that give me a lot of reason to believe. The first one was the defense gave up a touchdown at the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half, which is usually a killer. Those double dipping situations. And that's
Yep.
what Washington did to give themselves a double-digit lead. But the key in this game was undoubtedly the fact that they held Jaden Daniels to 5 rushing yards. It was only on 3 attempts. So Washington did no designed runs. I think they either felt like schematically they weren't going to be able to do it, or they just didn't want to get him killed against a physical Steelers defense.
Mhm.
So they bottled up the running game. He didn't scramble and get loose and do the ad lib improvising rushing plays, which if you look at Daniels' passing stats in this game, Pat, they're pretty consistent with what he's done all year. His
Yeah.
X factor has been running the ball.
Mhm.
So they completely eliminated that, which is huge, not just because of this game, but now they got Lamar Jackson next week and him in a couple more weeks. So
Yep.
they shut down the run game again with the quarterbacks. You've said that's what the Steelers do a great job of, and their history backs that up. And then, dude, Mike Williams showed up on Tuesday. He knew very little of the offense. And seconds before he caught that touchdown pass, Russell Wilson had to tell him what route to run, and then he trusted him enough to just throw the ball up to him for a touchdown. I mean, it's those types of things that make me think that they are on pace or on track to do something really special this year. So they were an underdog. I didn't think they should have been in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And 7-2, their best start since 2020. And Tomlin should be right there in Coach of the Year conversations with Kevin O'Connell and the guy he beat today, Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
Falcons and Saints. The Saints are the latest team to win the first game after a coaching change, Pat. Why does this keep happening?
Man, when a coach has been there for an X amount of time, especially with I'm speaking of Dennis Allen, and you go through these losing stints and nothing has really changed. Guys don't really see you motivate a team. You kind of start to lose a team. Not saying that's what happened there in New Orleans. Probably did happen, but
you could probably ask guys on that team who might give you an answer.
Yeah, exactly. Probably did happen. But then when you get, and it's probably time for a new voice. But now, once you get a new voice in there, a new energy comes into the building. You're hearing new ideas about how they want you to attack the ball or this, that, another. So it's just a new voice that guys that sometimes needed to be heard. And not saying they might not even win the next game, but it's just something about a new voice at that time coming into the meeting room that's able to give the team a new life. So I think they got away with one.
They 100% got away with one today. Atlanta had a ton of yards. Mooney and London almost had 100 yards each.
Yeah.
Who just missed field goals. That's why they won the game.
Exactly. Missing those field goals late throughout the game for the most part. So they got away with one. They got the dub. Kudos to them, but I don't see them getting many more wins after this one.
I mean, the special teams coach guy they hired is an absolute character. The guy's talking about in his post-game press conference about how he took a crap and clogged the toilet and he thought it was going to be a bad day because of it. I mean, who says that stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't hear Mike Tomlin or Andy Reid talking like that. Come on, man.
No, that's why he's a special teams coach, though. So.
Exactly. It's funny as hell, but you know how uptight these owners are. They don't like hearing that stuff. So
they don't hear that.
It's I mean, it's to your point. It's a nice moment. It's just odd how, like, professional football players, when somebody gets fired, it like rattles their cage and wakes them up and gets their attention for a week, and then it kind of goes back to normal after that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's exactly.
Like, you've
what
never
I see
been in a situation where a coach has gotten fired mid-season or in season, have you?
Nah. Okay. No. All of my coaching changes came after the season.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. Broncos, Chiefs. KC block a field goal to extend their win streak to 15. Who should feel better about this win, Denver or KC?
Well, I think Denver should, to answer this question, and here's why. Because Denver got destroyed by Baltimore.
Yeah.
And you go in there and that happens, and like, I know I felt of them, okay, they've beaten a lot of, not all crappy teams, but this is really a smoke and mirrors outfit. They have a winning record, but they're really not that good of a team. Sean Payton was right. They outplayed Kansas City today.
They did.
They were the better team in this game. Like, they're flying back to Denver and they're pissed that they lost. And the Chiefs' dominance of winning beating AFC West teams continues and all that business. But I would feel good that you took a rookie quarterback in there in one of the loudest, if not the loudest stadium to play in the NFL against a team like that. You blow a lead and Kansas City comes all the way back after you've been winning the whole game. And guess what? The kid orchestrated another drive and set you up for a chip shot field goal to win the game.
Yeah.
Converted, I think, 3 third downs on that last drive.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm Denver, I'm thinking two things. We might have our quarterback and shit. Now that we got this Chiefs game out of the way, we'll beat them again when we play them, and let's rattle off another 4 or 5 wins this year and make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Kansas City already knows what they are. They're probably feeling like they're going to always invent a new way to win a game. It doesn't matter. Win ugly, win pretty, doesn't matter. They're going to find ways to win.
Right.
But I actually came out of this game impressed with and giving more props to Denver for having them on the ropes like they did, Pat. It's like Rocky and Rocky 1. He might have lost to Apollo Creed, but damn, he showed everybody what he was made of in that match.
Yeah, yeah. Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos, in my opinion, definitely showed us what they was made of in matches. Coming, especially putting up the performance that they did last week against the Baltimore Ravens. Sean Payton had those guys geared up, coming in there against divisional opponent. We all know everybody want to give the reigning Super Bowl champs their best shot, and the Denver Broncos did that. And like you said, it's a lot to build on in that game with Joe Nix, what he was able to do, being 22 of 30, a really solid game where he had 215 yards, two tubs, and to your point as well, had an opportunity, well, put his team in position to win that ball game, but Kansas City miraculously gets a block to extend their win streak to 15. And the defense played lights out as well, forcing Patrick to throw the ball 40, 44, 42 times, completing half of those passes. So these guys have a recipe for winning. And this time, this part of their schedule, they're going to really have to take advantage of it. To your point as well, to try to make one of those late pushes to try to get into this playoff hunt.
You know what's interesting? And I remember when you were on that team in Minnesota and we were doing this podcast, and you guys that season were winning games like this every week.
Yeah.
And no one was giving you guys any credit. They were saying, look at their point differential. They're only winning one score games. They're not that good of a team. At some point, it's going to come back to bite them. And ultimately, they ended up being right. You guys lost to the Giants. No one's doing that with the Chiefs, even though like their point differential for a 9-0 team, I think is like the worst in the last 40 years. Like they, by all accounts, should be more like a 6-3 or 7-2 team.
Right.
Like but because they've won the last two Super Bowls and their quarterback's Mahomes and their head coach is Andy Reid, they're allowed to win these games ugly. You guys in Minnesota weren't. Everyone picked you apart and criticized you guys, but this team is. It's funny the way it works.
And yeah, just like you said, and we had, a first year head coach. I don't know why a lot of people don't like Kirk Cousins.
It's like, this is the worst 13-win team of all time. Remember that?
Exactly. Oh yeah, I remember all of that. But yeah, I don't know. But why Kansas City is not, being talked about like that, because they have won two Super Bowls. They won in the biggest stage. So there was a lot of questions that we needed to answer. But if you're not Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Lamar Jackson, if you're not, those quarterbacks, you don't get any grace.
Vikings and Jags. This actually ended up being an interesting game. It was 12-7. Minnesota wins despite Sam Darnold doing everything humanly possible to try to gift wrap the game to Jacksonville. We should launch an investigation to make sure that there wasn't a bookie that came to him to try to get him to throw this game, because that's what it looked like. Can they continue to win with him at quarterback, Pat?
Yes. Yes, I believe so. Just because what their defense is able to do, regardless how he performed, it's just going to come down to Kevin O'Connell and that offense to be able to move the ball up and down the field, which they was able to do this
game.
But
he was doing the thing you've been critical of. He was trying to force the ball to Jefferson.
Yeah. And that was something, especially in those conditions too. It wasn't really that type of game to be forcing the issue. You know what I mean? But back to your question, but yes, I believe they can win with Sam Darnold at the quarterback position, because I believe once the season goes on, Kevin will still continue to lean on him, but also have him understand what he has in his defense. Like we cannot afford to give the opposing team extra possessions. Like we're going to be good enough to where we're going to be in games, but we cannot give games away. So I knew that's going to be Kevin's message, not only to Sam, but in that meeting room once they dissect this film and once he's able to address the team tomorrow afternoon for workouts.
One more point on this game. Doug Peterson, they had 143 yards. Mac Jones looked like garbage. And after the game, he was asked about Jones's interception to seal the game. And he told the reporter, well, there's no point me trying to describe the play to you because you wouldn't understand it anyways. Dude, you've lost 13 of your last 16 games. Shut the F up. You're in no position to be condescending to media, to reporters, to fans, to anybody right now. When you lost like that, you should be kissing people's asses there. Okay, I get it. You just lost again. You're not in a good mood. But the reporter didn't F the game up. He didn't throw an interception.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to give away the play, fine, but you got to find a more polite way and respectful way to answer a question like that. So, yeah, Doug Peterson's got a Super Bowl, and he'll always be remembered for that in Philadelphia. But come on, man, you got to treat people better than that after a loss.
Oh man, I wish I would have saw that interview. We got the Bills coach. Flacco has 4 turnovers. Is it time to go back to Richardson?
People are texting me that have been listening to the show, and they're like, wow, you and Pat are really wrong about this whole Flacco situation. Okay, so far we are. Yeah, through 2 games, we don't look great. I'm not going to lie to you. Dude looked like he was deer in headlights a little bit against those Minnesota blitzes, and I don't know. I think Joe Flacco got up on the wrong side of the bed today because the first 2 turnovers were brutal, dude. I mean, they were just inexplicable. Pick 6 and then threw one right to the defensive tackle. I mean, they got back in the game. I mean, to his credit somewhat, but I think the Anthony Richardson thing, it's twofold. We both agreed that Joe Flacco gave them a better chance to win now. I still feel that way.
Yeah.
But also thinking that in Richardson's long-term growth, it's beneficial for him to watch and to not play. So they're 4-6. They're only a game out of the last playoff spot in the AFC. Their schedule gets way easier over the last 5 or 6 games of the year. They got a couple tough ones. Then it's all downhill. So I'm going to continue to ride with Joe Flacco and say that the guy we watched in Cleveland last year can still poke his head out of the ground again and have this team compete for a playoff spot, Pat.
Yeah, I believe Joe Flacco still is the quarterback for this situation as well. Because although Joe Flacco threw 3 interceptions, he still threw more yards than Richardson in 3 games, with that being 272 yards. 272 yards. I'm sorry. Minus those turnovers, this team had an opportunity to win this ball game as well. Because if you go back and look at Josh Allen game, he had a big game in the passing in the passing yard in the passing yardage category, but he wasn't able to get the ball in the end zone. So Buffalo defense kind of won them that game as well. So there's no doubt in my mind that Joe Flacco gives this team the best opportunity moving forward, because the offense looks way more fluent with him in the lineup. Far as passing wise, we all know what Jonathan Taylor is going to bring to the table out of the backfield. So I would lean more on the experienced side than the unexperienced side, and we're not getting any productivity out of the unexperienced side. So it's an easy decision for me if I was in that position as well.
We'll do a lot on Buffalo on Thursday when we get people ready for that Chiefs and Bills game, which is a massive one. But they did buckle down on Jonathan Taylor, who had over 100 yards in the first half, and then I think he finished with like 118 in the game. So credit to Sean McDermott's defense for making adjustments there. Speaking of defenses, Titans and Chargers. LA has won 3 straight. Its defense is doing historic things. You buying it? So they have not allowed more than 20 points in a game yet this year. 20 or fewer in every single game. Yeah. And we are 10 weeks into the season.
That's pretty historic. Just because it's so hard to try to limit offenses to 17 or less points or 20 or less points. Pittsburgh and the Baltimore Ravens are the best to do it in the last 10 years, because I believe they're 1 and 2 at scoring defense in the last 2 years. So I'm not surprised that Jim Harbaugh defense is, putting up these type of numbers, because I remember going up against those guys and when he was with the 49ers back in his day, and they was the exact same way. Very, very stout. That was Vic Fangio defense. and those guys had a very, very aggressive style, controlling the clock on the running on the offensive side of the ball. Like I said, playing lights out defense with Patrick Willis in the game, pretty much controlling the whoever was on offense. Special team was always solid, so he's doing nothing but packing that same recipe that he had in San Francisco and just brought it across the water there in LA. So it's a beautiful thing to see what John Harbaugh is able to do. Jim Harbaugh is able to do over there in California.
I always felt like with those Chargers defenses before he got there, that they always say the sum. So like the positive connotation is the sum is greater than the parts. When you have a team where you look at it's like a no-name defense, but they play to a high level. I always thought it was the opposite before he got there. You looked at the names and you're like, damn, this should be one of the best defenses in the NFL, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
With Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack and Derwin James and Asante Samuel Jr., and you're looking at all these big name guys, they're not getting it done. This year they are. And I do think part of it is I actually absolutely believe it's better coaching. The Harbaughs, both of them, the thing I give them credit for is their assistant coach hires. They do an excellent job of hiring coordinators. Sometimes they'll swap coordinators. One guy went to Michigan, went back to Baltimore.
Right.
Darnold did that. Mike Minter, whose dad was a coach in college, who's the defensive coordinator there. This dude already has a reputation as being one of the sharpest and smartest and most outside the box coordinators. And I think because he's coming from college and there's really not a book on him yet. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's really playing to their advantage here. And plus you add in the players that they have there. And they caught a huge break though. There was absolutely a fumble by Herbert that got returned for a touchdown. It was overturned. And I'm like,
no doubt about it.
That was with everything we have, all the mechanisms we have in place to make sure we get the call right. The Titans got absolutely screwed and would have been right in this game if not for a complete mishap there. So
because his arm was going forward, but the ball was way out of his hand before his arm began his forward motion. So it was crazy because when I saw that play, I said, oh yeah, that's a fumble. Let me go, because I was cooking at the time. I said, let me go, check on the food, this, that, and another. Come back. They kicking the ball off because I think the Chargers got the ball back out of halftime. And I saw the score. I was like, oh, they took the touchdown back.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to hear the explanation, but I was like, no, they got robbed, man, because that was for sure a fumble.
If this were in a bigger game and it happened to a team that more people cared about, not Tennessee, it'd be all over the debate shows on Monday.
100%.
I got to ask you this question because it's about you, and that's the Jets and Cardinals. The Jets got blown out by your old team. Please tell me you made big money on this game. Please. Come on, man.
I did pick the Cardinals to win, but there was on my parlay. So who lost? I'm trying to think. Oh, yeah, the Tennessee goofed up my parlay, man. I took Tennessee +8. They had a chance to at least keep it within 8.
Yes, they got screwed by the refs. Welcome to the life of being a bettor. You get screwed by the refs and start to hate the refs now.
I know. Yeah, I know. But yeah, I did take the Cardinals.
Dude, this was candy from a baby. They were an underdog in this game at home, Pat.
I know. I saw this, man, and I knew
you saw this coming.
I did. I did see this coming because it's always tough for East Coast teams to even, to travel out west and to play in that in the toaster, as we used to call it when I was down. They call it now, but. Yeah, man, the Cardinals came out. Kyler Murray played a brilliant game, man. He was 22 of 24, 266 yards, a touchdown. Off that running game that they have found over the last few weeks, it's looking pretty. And Kyler Murray running the ball the way he has been, not really a lot of design runs, but when he is able to, break the pocket and try to get those extra yards with his legs, he has been phenomenal. So what the Arizona Cardinals have been able to do over the course of 4 weeks, you remember what I said last week? This is a strappy, feisty football team, and you got to watch out for them, man.
Well, that was one of the teams before we brought you onto the podcast. I was telling Danny that I loved them to win more than 7 games. I thought that was one of the best bets out there for the season. And then I abandoned them because they got off to such a crappy start. So now I'm going to allow myself to jump back on the bandwagon. Kyler was savant-like in this game from an accuracy.
Yeah.
I think he completed 17 passes in a row. I mean, it looked like, sorry,
broke Carson
Kyler.
Palmer record.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, because I was on the team with Carson. I believe that was 17. Can't remember who we was playing, but yeah, Carson was, man, the ball didn't touch the ground for a while. I think he had like 16
Well,
completions
I
in a
was
row.
going to say, I mean, Kyler likes this, so I think he doesn't mind it now being brought up, but it was video game-like for
Yeah,
him
it
today,
was.
the way he was able to get the ball where he wanted to go. It's such a stark contrast right now. I mean, you look at his athletic talents and what Kyler Murray can do when he can reach his full potential, and then you compare it to what Aaron Rodgers is at 40 years old, and it's a night and day difference, man.
Yeah.
The dude just cannot consistently. He put the ball up for Garrett Wilson, and the guy made some incredible plays for him in that game against Houston. But other than that, this offense just stinks.
Yeah, they do,
And
man.
it's a perfect storm where the quarterback can't do the things he used to be able to do. He's not getting good coaching there. So you add it all up, and this is what you get. You get a team that in a lot of games, for whatever reason, people still think they're good.
Yeah.
And they're either losing to bad teams or they're getting embarrassed by good ones, Pat.
Yeah, they are done. And what, to your point, you said Aaron's not being coached, right? That's what you
Yes,
said.
I don't think the coaching is. I don't think the
Yeah,
coaching
that's
is
what you
there.
said. You don't think the coaching is the best. Aaron basically always wanted to be the coach of the team, if I'm not mistaken. Even when he
Yes.
was in Green Bay, he's always talking about things he would do. Here's it's basically his opportunity, and it looks worse than it's ever been.
No doubt. I just wonder if he's going to go out this way. Is he going to have a choice? I mean, they're not going to want him back next year.
Because somebody will though. Somebody will pick him up. I guarantee you
You
that.
think?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
The thing about that though, Pat, is when you bring him on, you have to take on the whole.
I know.
The whole thing.
And trust me, it's going to be a desperate team. It'll be a desperate team to take him. All right, we got Bears, Patriots. Caleb Williams was sacked 9 times. Is it time to pull the plug on the Bears coaching?
Well, they were saying fire Eberflus at Soldier Field today. And Spence can look this up quick. Give me Eberflus's record there, because I think they flash it on the screen during this game, and they would be well within their rights to do this right now. Well, let me actually hit rewind for a second here. The issue with doing it right now is, do you want, in the rookie quarterback's first year and Caleb Williams' first year, do you want to already blow something up and have him 14 and 28? Thank you. So he's losing 2 out of every 3 games he coaches.
Yep.
Do you want to force him to deal with this upheaval midseason? My answer to that is no. But the alternative is barely better, Pat, because Eberflus came out after this game and said that he might strip the offensive coordinator of play calling duties. I mean, that would be a dramatic change for a rookie quarterback. It's clearly not working. Like, obviously, what happened in that Washington game with the play call to the backup center on the run and giving up the Hail Mary, it broke this team. It just speaks to, right? I mean, it's been laughably bad. I think they were 1 of 13 on 3rd down today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like good. It's like they're acting like the writing is on the wall. They've checked out. So what do you do in that situation?
Yeah, you get ready for next year. I don't think pulling the plug on coaching on Eberflus is the right move right now.
I mean, you might get what the Saints got. For 1 week, they're like rallying the troops, and they come out and they beat Green Bay or play a spirited game, and then it goes right back to what it was before that, I would guess.
Yeah, I just think it will just derail Caleb growth that much more with him seeing. Obviously, we all know this is a business. We know that coaching firings and things like that happen, but you don't know the effect that it have on players sometimes. So I feel like, yeah, if you have if you have this already in your mind that you're looking for a new coach next year, I think after the season is the best time to do it. Just because, like I said, you just don't know the effect that it may have on your rookie quarterback and what you're going to get out of him moving forward. I believe it can go either way. But at this stage, what you got 6, 7 games left, just go ahead, ride out with Eberflus and start looking for a new voice and a new face for your team next year.
Would you consider doing with Williams what Indy has done with Richardson and just getting him out of harm's way for the rest of the year and having somebody else take the
Nah,
beating and absorb?
nah. I feel like Caleb is in a different situation. I feel like Caleb has more than Richardson, far as in the passing game. His development as a quarterback, I feel, is on a much better trajectory than Richardson was. He just looks more like a quarterback in my opinion than Richardson right now. So
Yeah,
you
because he's
got to
already strung. We've seen him throw like 7 touchdowns in a 3-game
yeah
stretch. He had a good
yeah. So exactly.
run.
So we seen glimpse of some goodness out of Caleb. We have not seen a glimpse of a consistent glimpse of goodness out of Richardson because he was hurt his entire rookie season, and B, I don't know if he have over 120 yards passing um, yet. So that's what I mean by those two quarterbacks. But yeah, I just think it'll be the wrong move to pull the plug on Eberflus at this point of the season. Just go ahead and wait it out and get you an offensive minded head coach that can really grow with
Yeah.
Caleb, so we can really start to see him take the strides that that you not only football fans want to see, but you as an organization want to see.
Well, it's definitely going to be a dead man walking situation there because
Yeah.
I don't see them salvaging this, and the fans there know it, and they're out for blood. And so it's
Hmm.
going to be a very uncomfortable next 2 months for them as they try to play this out. You score 3 points against New England at home. That's about as bad as it gets.
Yeah.
All right. For Patrick
Windy
Peterson,
City.
yep. For Spencer Ray, I'm Andrew Fillipponi. We'll talk again, getting you ready for Week 11, Thursday night. It's a really good one. We'll have Eagles and Commanders, and then we'll preview all the Week 11 matchups like Chiefs, Bills, and
Yep.
Ravens, Steelers. Listen and subscribe to First and Pod. It's everywhere. Apple Store, Odyssey app. Subscribe, rate, review, tell your friends. It's First and Pod. See ya.
Peace.